Hello everyone and welcome to this week's old school live stream. Things are a little bit different today. We've got two streams ahead for you. The first will be the one that you see right now with myself, Mod Fife and Mod Korpz. We're going to be going over account security and services, and then in around about 20-30 minutes or so from now, we're going to jump into a playthrough and Q&A of Guardians of the Rift with some of their JMods and some creators, but more on that in a little while. First and foremost, I just want to welcome, as I mentioned before, we've got Mod Fife here, who is the EP of the publishing platform, as well as Mod Korpz, who is the director of product for the publishing platform. And they're both here to discuss what we shared on our recent blog about account security. If you weren't able to read that, you can find all of the information with !account security in the chat to read up on it if you haven't done so already. I guess first of all, let's have a few little intros. How is everyone doing? And maybe we'll start with you, Mod Fife. How are you today?
It's a good day, actually. I'm actually pretty excited to be here. Hi, everyone.
It's great to have you here. It's a first time appearance on the old school stream for both of you, if I'm not mistaken. Normally we will hound you with some RuneScape related questions, but I'll save you from the pain this time round. How are you doing today, Mod Korpz?
Yeah, very good. Glad to be here. It's nice to start talking to players. Hopefully the first of many, well, I don't know about many appearances, but more appearances, let's say that.
Yeah, I'm sure the community will much appreciative of just some additional information. So I guess really without any further ado, it's best that I probably hand it over to the both of you to kind of like run through what you've got to show us. And I believe in good old Jagex fashion, we've got a deck actually that you've got to run through. So I'll leave you in the full power.
Okay, we're going to tell you a little bit about the publishing platform and the team, and also how that relates to our roadmap of improvement for old school and like how we contribute. Next slide, please. So, since you don't know us and it's our first time here, we want to introduce ourselves. I'll go first. I'm Mod Fife. I'm a lifelong gamer. I lost countless hours playing an ASCII roguelike called NetHack. Absolutely fell in love with Final Fantasy VII, and currently I'm dying a lot in, like most of you probably, in Elden Ring. I've worked in games for about 25 years and been fortunate to contribute to the Descent series, Red Faction, Ratchet & Clank, Resistance Fall of Man, and now I'm super excited to be working with old school RuneScape. One of the things I've learned over the years in doing this for so long is that while I like making games, I actually care more about shipping and actually delivering value to players. So a year and a half ago, I started at Jagex. After helping bring Melvor Idol to market, about a month ago, I was made the executive producer of the publishing platform team. Publishing platform team, not the game team. And ultimately, I'm responsible for us delivering value to you, and that's going to be the contents of this presentation today. So when I got the new role, like the very first thing I did was want to get up to speed on the team, know what we have going on in terms of current projects, and also our history. And I've read through the blog posts, Reddit, and I've realized that there's this huge team, or like this big team, almost the size of the dev team, that's deeply cares about our players, but we've been radio silent. And that's one of the reasons we're here today, is because we want to come out of stealth mode. Mod Korpz?
Yeah, hi, I'm Mod Korpz. I've been at Jagex now. Well, this is actually my second tour of duty at Jagex. I joined first back in 2006 to lead a small project that eventually turned into FunOrb, which some of you may remember. I left in 2010, stayed within the games industry, worked in a variety of other companies, and came back to Jagex, coming home really, back in 2019 to be product director for the publishing platform. So it was May 2019, I think, is just about when I joined again. And since then, we've been working basically to build out the product portfolio that we have in place, which is exactly why we're here now, because we're in the position where we're going to start being able to release it to you, and therefore we can start to talk about it in more detail. Next slide, please.
Right, so on Monday, ModMac released a blog post. If you haven't read it, please do. here's an excerpt that resonates with us, and I want to read it because words said out loud have power and meaning. Like, I wanted to share an update on our commitment to level up account security and services. We know this is something many of you passionately want to see improved. RuneScape's accounts are more than just your save game. They're the embodiment of your adventures, your hard-earned accomplishments, and your valuable time. You want to see that they are protected at all costs, and it's clear there are areas we can do better. We hear you. So Mods Korpz and I have talked a lot about this, and we are wholly aligned with this. And it's our job to deliver that to you. And one of the questions you might have is like, okay, but what does the publishing platform team actually do? Mods Korpz, could you give an intro to the areas that our team covers?
Yeah, sure. So next slide, please. So what is the publishing platform? Well, fundamentally, it's a combination of our accounts and security systems, the payments and the shop systems, all provided through both the launcher and our websites and web systems. There are other shared services that we are responsible for, but these are the core of it. And our goal really is to make sure that you as players can access the game whenever you wish. That's really the fundamental reality of it. And you can do so in a safe and secure manner. If you choose to spend money, then you can do that as well, safely and securely. The launcher is part of our new product portfolio. The websites is where we've been working obviously for some considerable time, in the web systems that we provide, whether you access that through the game or on the site direct. Next slide, please. Now, from 2019 until now, we recognized there was some communication that came out in 2019, and we have been working to basically provide these benefits, but the decision was taken to really try and do this through the new publishing platform. When Andrew basically first wrote RuneScape back in the day, he wrote it for performance. It was a finely tuned engine, a 3D MMORPG designed to run in a browser back in 2001. It was incredibly bespoke. And like any finely tuned engine, it requires a lot of maintenance, it requires a lot of work, it requires a lot of time. And it has unfortunately not really kept up to pace with modern developments. So we took the difficult decision to move to a new publishing platform and build the best in architecture that we could, the best in practice, to the best in practice standards that we could, and really focus on the security and performance both combined, and provide you guys with the best possible platform for the future. Something that you know, we intend is to make sure that these systems continue on for the life cycle of, well, however long the products, the games are lasting for. The other aspect of what we do is focus on what we call bad actor protection and bad actor detection, making sure that we can spot and remove bad actors who are trying to either attack our systems or attack your accounts directly. And that's really what the new publishing platform is, what we call the Jagex platform. And we're really at the position now. The launcher is the first vehicle by which we will begin to provide it, but we really are at the position now where we can start to actually feed these developments through actually into the live environment. So I think Mod 5 is going to talk a little bit more about the launch now.
Yeah.
Next slide, Drew.
Yeah, we'll start with the launcher. The launcher entering open beta is the first step of the 2022 plan, and it's tangible proof that we're actually making progress. Like, a few signs that the launcher is actually using the new platform, you may have noticed if you tried it. Number one, your credentials are finally remembered. You know, it's quicker and easier to get in the game, assuming you're using the Java client. And now the other thing is that you may notice that when using the launcher, you'll no longer experience the too many login attempts issue. And that's because it's going through the new authentication flow. And of course, like, you know, the beginning of beta is just the beginning. You likely use RuneLite. Most of our players do. And like, the reality is we're collaborating with Adam at RuneLite right now, and we're adding RuneLite support to the launcher as we speak. We also know that like a lot of people play with multiple characters. So as soon as we get RuneLite support in, the next task is actually to support a drop-down list so you can actually pick between your various characters, making that type of play much easier and faster and convenient. You know, and after we've already used the launch for a bit, we've already got like some UI polish we want to do, and you can see on the image below, like kind of the direction we're going with the UI. And like in addition to the launcher, the thing that I think you'll care even more about is Jagex accounts. Mods Korpz, could you introduce them to Jagex accounts? Next slide, please.
It would be my pleasure. So yes, the next major development that we're looking at is, as Fife has said, the Jagex account system. So this is all based around having a verified email address, and it adheres to modern account security standards. So complex passwords, absolutely. We verify every authentication attempt by sending your verified email address a code email that you then have to read and put back into the our systems, and that verifies that you're the person that's trying to log in. We can make the authentication protocols this stringent because we also have remembered sessions. So you have to log in less frequently, but you have to log in more robustly, if that makes sense. It also allows us to spot bot attacks more effectively and prevent them from being able to, like I was saying earlier, attack either our systems or your account directly. And then one of the things that we want to be doing later in the year is what we call the unified account. Now this is where each of your current RuneScape accounts, you'll be able to migrate to a single unified Jagex account. So it'll be one set of account credentials, one login, and you'll be able to access every account, every character that you have in the game. And then through the launcher, if you want to play these characters simultaneously, we know that's a play behavior that players like, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to load up an instance of old school for every character that you have available to you. The only thing you can't do is have one character logged into the game twice. But beyond that, you'll be able to play old school with as many instances as, quite frankly, at that point, characters you have or that your system can support. Another thing that the verified account does for us is it enables us to trial live chat. So one of the problems we have with live chat is making sure the person that we're speaking to is actually the person that owns the account. And if we can verify that with an email or through Authenticator, then that basically can confirm that. So there's still some other bits and pieces to do with live chat that we need to check and make sure it is providing the value to you guys that we think it will. So there's going to be a trial that will run later on this year once the unified accounts are in place. As you can see from the screenshots, we are actually providing some idea of the UI that will be apparent that we're actually going to be delivering with this as well. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what Jagex accounts will actually provide you with. I'll hand back to Mod 5. Next slide, I guess.
Yep. So one of the questions you likely have is, okay, what's the roadmap? When are we going to get things? What's this going to look like? So first, you know, the launcher is now live. And next, you can click one time. Thank you. Yep. Next, we're going to, we are getting RuneLite support into the launcher immediately. It's being worked on right now. Initially, as the first step, what we're going to do is that the launcher will detect existing installs of RuneLite. Okay, so if you have it on your machine, you'll be able to enter your credentials into the launcher, and you'll be able to play with RuneLite. If you don't have RuneLite, there's an icon for RuneLite. You can click on it, and it'll have a download link that'll take you to the official RuneLite page, so that people don't go to fake pages anymore, or at least hopefully don't go to fake pages. Next. After that, the very next release is going to be supporting multiple accounts, so that you'll have an easy drop-down list that you can switch between various accounts without re-entering your credentials into the launcher. Next. Then we're working towards the full release of the launcher, which includes the Mac version, the improved UI, as well as full RuneLite integration, including installing RuneLite. Next. So obviously we want to get Jagex accounts to people as soon as possible. The very first release, they'll be available for like brand new accounts. And then next. Right, then obviously we're going to provide an easy mechanism to actually upgrade your old school account to a Jagex account. And next. So finally, we're going to allow you to actually group all your characters under a single set of login credentials. And at this point, you're going to actually have a character selection and management dialog in game. And you'll be able to create a new character with a single click. Since like we know that like majority of people here, you have existing characters. So Mod Korpz, could you explain how to actually upgrade from an old school account to a Jagex account?
Yeah, sure. So it's a relatively simple procedure that we'll go through to begin with. You will have to verify that you own the RuneScape account. So that will require you to basically have a verifiable email address associated with your account. Once you verify that the account is yours, then you will use those credentials in terms of the email address to set up your Jagex account. You'll be able to choose the password that you want, and it can be as complex as you like. You'll then build the account. We will send you a code via email. You will key in, and that's it. You'll be basically created as transferred over to a Jagex account. And then whenever you go to log in, there'll be a selection box where you will say log in with Jagex account, and that will be as simple as that. Next slide, please.
Right, so we actually have a lot going on this year. The publishing platform team is super excited to finally be releasing these improvements that we know you've been waiting honestly like too long for. And the deal is our intent is to make sure that you're well informed. We want to keep the launcher website up to date as additional features are released. We're currently writing a technical blog post for people who are interested in that sort of thing, so you can understand the new technologies that are being used in the platform. And as well, we're going to make sure that there's posts each time there's a major release to the launcher or to Jagex accounts. Next, please. And we just want to thank you for listening and giving us this time to speak with you today. And thank you for your continued support. That's all.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I think a big thanks are owed to the both of you for spending time to come on here and talk about everything you've been working on. I know it's not easy, especially for the first time to jump into the stream, so that's been much appreciated. Chat seemed to be very excited and happy from a lot of things that you mentioned, and there were a whole load of questions that I saw coming through. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to be able to answer questions coming through from chat today, but as Korpz and Fife have both mentioned, this is just the start, really, of opening up communications now with the publishing platform. So you should expect, especially if the new posts coming out, to update you on the major milestones, and perhaps even we'll do some extras with more streams, and maybe even being able to open up a Q&A in some form of a Word format that we can perhaps put into a blog and really just try and stay on top of that. So thank you to everyone in chat for that. Keep your questions coming. We'll try and document them as best as we can and get those answered as and when we're able to. Otherwise, I just want to say a big thank you again to Mod 5, Mod Korpz for coming onto the stream and giving us your time. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we transition over into Gardens of the Rift?
No, thank you for having us today.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Great to see you, and hopefully it's not the last time either. So, yeah, once again, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And those tuning in from home, stay tuned. We're going to go to a short break just for the next 5 minutes while we prep, and we'll be jumping straight into some gameplay of Gardens of the Rift with some mods and our creators. Hello everybody, we are back again, and this time it is for some Guardians of the Rift gameplay, and I am not on my own. I also... Oh, there's an echo I can hear. That is throwing me off.
Sorry, my bad. I apologize.
Thanks, Alfie.
Yeah, sorry.
Appreciate it. I don't like having to hear myself at the best of times, yet alone whilst I'm on the old school stream.
Neither do I.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can see here we are joined by some creators as well as some J-mods. I'll go through some introductions. We have Mod West. Hey Mod West, how are you doing today?
Hey, you're good, thanks. Enjoying the sun.
Good. I can tell. I've because of my green screen, I've had to close my blackout curtains, so my room is just dark, and then there's a bright light shining in my face. So I really would like the sunlight right now, but hey ho, the joys of production. Good to have you here. We have also Mod Elena. How are you doing today, Mod Elena?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm okay, thank you. I'm recovering from illness, so sorry if I sound a little bit raspy, but yeah, it's all good. I had a nice 30-minute break of not really having to speak just before, so I'm hopeful that you guys will also do a lot of the talking once I've got through this introduction, but we'll see. Otherwise, doing good, thank you. We're also joined by the wonderful Zoepancakes. Hey Zoe, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. It's good to have you here. And we also have Alfie, the maxed hardcore group Iron Man in the flesh, live on the stream. How are you doing, Alfie?
I'm doing pretty good, dude. Thanks for having me on the stream. I appreciate it a lot. I'm really excited. This minigame is freaking sick.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here. I've seen that you've been smashing it out of recent and answering multiple questions of your own in Twitch chat, so I'm sure you're ready and raring to go and answer some more.
Pretty much
right, we
same
have...
chat, but more.
Yeah, just more of it. Well, I'll try and blast through all of our announcements and the user-generated content so that we can get through some gameplay. I believe that Elena is going to be hosting her own version of gameplay as well as Alfie. So those two will be playing, the rest of us will be talking. We have released some hotfixes, which tackle some of the problems that you've been experiencing, especially when trying to get into the minigame. And we've also buffed the frequency of abyssal pearls. There'll be more news on that in a news post to follow, and I believe we're currently in the process of just putting together something that will go out on socials to tie us over until tomorrow so that you can see the full list of changes. Otherwise, there is currently a thread on Reddit that details a lot of the stuff that we were doing, so check out 2007scape for all the info, or keep an eye on Twitter where it will be posted relatively soonish. Now, first of all, !game update. Guardians of the Rift is now live. Obviously, it's on your screens. You've probably been playing it. It's Old School's newest minigame, bringing you a whole new way to train Runecraft, and it comes with a brand new quest, Temple of the Eye. Check out all the changes and additions in our blog with !game update. We also have account security. Perhaps you were here just a few moments ago seeing the stream, but just to reiterate, we are committed to leveling up our account security and services over the next year. Mod Mac has outlined some of the key changes coming to Old School, Old School's account security, sorry, which you can find with account security. And then the last announcement for now is Launcher. The new Jagex Launcher is in open beta, which you can access Old School RuneScape and all of your other Jagex favorites all from one place. There's a bunch of changes that are due to come to that over the course of the next 12 months as well. So check out all of that and more with Launcher. All right, we've got a few cool images that have been gathered from the community. So let's take a look at the first one coming in from the Schooled One from Reddit, titled Tower of Life movie poster. I haven't seen these yet, so this isn't very new.
That's really cool.
Big fan. How do you feel? What do you think about this, West, the artist in the room? I've got to get your opinion on all of them.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm like seeing all the Blender work that's coming out recently from the game. It's an interesting look at the homunculus. I probably would have put maybe a glow on the eyes because they're kind of just blending into the rest of the head here. But yeah, it's a really cool shot. It's nice, nice composition.
Awesome. Some nice constructive feedback for you there too. The Schooled One. So maybe keep that in mind for some future works. I also love seeing the Blender work as well. I got told off by a chat from last Q&A where I said that I really like real life art, and everyone now thinks that I hate digital art. It's not the case. You just don't see as much of it anymore. Oh, God. All right. The next image coming in from The Hopeless, also from Reddit, and this is titled Lego Vorkath Markup.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I love seeing the Lego stuff as well. Lego
That looks freaking
interpretations
sick.
of it.
Yeah, it's sick. The whole arena as well looks so on point.
It's actually more detailed than the actual environment. I always regretted not putting more detail into that one.
Well,
Nice.
it's just a bunch of snow. It's okay. Okay, we also now have a custom player model from SD, which was also posted up on Reddit. Amazing 3D print here. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, this is awesome. I got to see this in person. It's quite a cool print.
Ooh, look at you.
Mm.
The detail on it is absolutely incredible, even down to like the paintwork. It's so on point.
It really is. I love the shoulder pads. Like, they must be so hard to do.
I think Alfie likes it. He dropped a pog in the chat, so.
That looks freaking really cool.
And lastly, from Vector Data, we have the feeling of getting a skill cape. Super cute.
That's amazing.
Definitely not set up in that outfit for a ranged fight, but hey, maybe it's just part of Fashionscape now.
Right, aren't they? Isn't that Void?
Yeah.
No,
I
it's,
think you heard
oh, hold on,
Those are supposed to be 99k.
Yeah, no, it's the ranger person is handing it over to the female character, right?
He seems
Yeah.
that it is in good armor.
Well,
I thought the
right.
female character had like a
Oh,
version
they're
of
wearing
Void.
voids. You mean they're wearing?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
it may be, and just because I'm looking at it from the back and it's thrown me off. It just looks like a robe of
Sounds
sorts.
sensible.
So, all right. Well, before I get myself into trouble, let's move on to some questions and we can get some gameplay. How about that? All right, we have some questions that are going to be going through for a mixture of you all. So sorry, I'll try and point them towards you as and when. Otherwise, feel free to jump in. I'm just going to quickly scour through these just to check. All right, there are some. I was going to ask some questions like beforehand that I can bring your way, Zoe and Alfie, but we'll just get to them when they come round. So the first question is in regards to the environment and systems, and this one's pointed towards you, West. What inspirations did you take for the design of the arena for Guardians of the Rift?
So the initial inspiration is a bit of a strange one, but when I was doing the art pre-prod that week, I just happened to read about this thing online called a whale fall, which is when a whale dies. Quite sad. It like falls to the bottom of the ocean and then creates like this little like pocket of life on the floor bed in like the abyssal zone. And I was like, abyssal demons, abyssal rift. I was like, that'd be quite a cool play on situating the entire environment at the bottom of the ocean. I think the initial idea was to put inside a cave, like an underwater cave. But I was like, it just seemed like such a cool thing to put into an environment. We haven't really done anything like properly underwater before. So that was like the main inspiration, well, the first inspiration for some of the surrounding environment. And then it's quite an old Saradomin temple, so I was thinking like Greek architecture, so looking at things like Atlantis, sort of things like that. So yeah, there's a bunch of things coming together. So yeah, Dead Whales and Ancient Greece.
Dead Whales, Ancient Greece, and Saradomin. Well, I mean, you've done a fantastic job. It's been one of the most highly praised kind of areas, I think, for a very long time. So if I had a hat on right now, I would take it off to you.
Yeah, I mean, not just me. It's a team effort. So yeah, Mod Jerv was the concept artist for this. We also had Mod Skylark and Ghost and Grub as well, helping out with a few things. So yeah.
I still remember that conversation we had when you initially pitched, like, hey, what if it was underwater? And I was like, yes, we have to do that now.
Yeah.
It sounded so epic when you explained it.
Yeah. It certainly wasn't not what the
Absolutely
players
love
were
it.
expecting.
Yeah,
Based
for
on what I
sure.
could tell.
It was funny how many comments we got about the pet, right? And they were like, what does underwater have to do with Runecraft? Come on, Jagex, you dropped the ball here. And I'm like, well, wait till you do the quest and the story. Chill out, player. You know? It'll make sense.
It's not
You're
like
just
our
missing
players to
context.
jump to conclusions, Husky. Come on now.
Yeah, I would never skip dialogue. That'd be wrong. I like
The amount of people that I
don't even
saw
have-
where you were live on stream trying to do the minigame and having no clue because you all just spacebarred through the dialogue and the tutorial. Was
I don't know what you're
I'm so
talking
glad
about.
people in front, like, tell you how to do it.
All right. Well,
It's like you guys
what about
anticipated that by like making the guys at the front talk about how to play the game after you did the quest, because you knew everyone was going to skip through the dialogue. It's great. I love it.
My
So
favorite part of that. Oh,
sorry, Elena. Go on.
sorry, Ayiza. I was just gonna say my favorite part of that was seeing like everyone go to that one very specific rock that you get told to mine at in the tutorial, and then no one goes to like any other rocks for the first like couple of games. It was a lot of fun to me. It reminded me of kind of like on Tutorial Island, right? When you go to mine the copper. It points at a very
Always
specific
always
rock, and when
arrow.
you were a kid, you always went to that specific one. Like, that's the correct rock, you know?
It's true. It's the safe space. It's fine. How about the environment for Yuzo? What was your first kind of like thoughts when you saw it jumping into game and for your community as well?
Look, I won't lie. I spacebarred a little bit, so I can't say that I understand the lore completely, but it is absolutely stunning. I feel like it's like nothing else that we've seen in the game. I feel like, I don't know if this was intentional, but I feel like the like colors in the reef kind of like correspond to all the different runes. Like I like that it has a lot of colors, kind of rainbow thing going on. I think it's stunning, really.
Well, thank you for the feedback. And how about you, Alfie? What were your first thoughts when you saw it?
I thought it was gonna be like something more of not an underwater type thing. I thought it was gonna be more like all the other essence mines in the game, but it looks like really different and unique. And when I first saw the initial how it looked, I'm like, this looks really cool. And I've been doing it, and it doesn't feel like I'm like gaining runecrafting experience. It feels like I'm just like enjoying like going for drops, and like I haven't even noticed. Like I never thought I'd actually like go past 9 AM runecrafting. But yeah, this game is actually...
I was going to say, like,
really...
it doesn't feel like you're going for experience because you're already maxed now. So
that's not why. I mean, post 99.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Well, I did notice that obviously Husky has joined us midway through this part. He was heading back to his house from the office. So Husky, I'll just quickly ask, how are you doing today? Hope you're well.
Tired, I think, is probably the right word. Obviously, with the situation yesterday, that meant players weren't actually playing the game until about 5 o'clock at night. So I had to stay back a bit later. We were trying to see what issues people were facing, and then I think I got in quite early today and started pre-writing hotfixes that I felt like we probably wanted to go with just so we could get things in quickly before we'd even discussed it as a team. So yeah, I'm pretty tired. But aside from that, I'm fairly happy. A lot of the feedback is just, hey, I'm not getting enough stuff for my time, or like minor niggles. And I think that everyone else is saying they're really enjoying the game, and especially hearing like Alfie say, I'm not feeling like I'm training Runecraft. I got a lot of similar feedback in Sepulchre, like I don't feel like I'm training agility, I'm just doing something and getting the XP, and it feels fun. And that's a big win to me, especially because this minigame, you're literally doing Runecraft, right? We're making you go to all the altars, and we really wanted to make it feel like you were actually doing Runecraft, but you're not feeling like you're doing Runecraft. So that's a huge win for me in terms of feedback.
I think that was like part of the core thing that we wanted to kind of preserve when we did this, right? Like we wanted it to feel like Runecraft still, but at the same time, we also really focused on it has to be fun. And it seems to me, at least, that from the feedback I've seen, that we've managed that. And like you said, people are complaining about like, or maybe not complaining, but wishing that they got more abyssal pearls, for example, or more XP. And those are things that we're obviously monitoring all the time. And we can easily change that once we have the data to verify that, you know? We just don't want to jump into something where we change it and then, oh, wait, we changed it too much, and then it's a lot of back and forth. We want to be sure before we make those kind of changes. So.
Well, I think it's safe to say you're in a pretty darn good spot if the complaints are, this minigame feels really fun to play, but I want to get more rewards for doing it, rather than having to worry about getting the baseline mechanics and the fundamentals of it, tweaked and changed. So, fantastic job all round.
I mean, the flip is I don't care that it's rubbish because the game's shit and I want to do something else. So, yeah. So at least we're not in that situation.
True. All right, I have a question that's in here that is in regards to the blood altars. Right. So, what do we now call the old blood altar, given that there is a new one?
No, maybe you should ask the altar.
Zaya blood.
Zaya blood altar.
You just call it Zaya Runecraft.
I've only heard.
We
new
can't call
blood
it Zaya.
altar.
It's Korrend, right? So the old and new. Is that what you'd stick with, Zoe? It's nice and
That's the
simple.
only thing that I've heard so far. I don't know if things will change, but that's the only way I've heard it referred to so far.
I think true stands a lot. Like, I'm pretty sure that was even mentioned before the update. It was like it's drawing its power from the true blood altar. Just like the soul one is drawing power from the true soul altar, if that exists somewhere in the game, you know?
So
Obviously
the
it doesn't,
Korrend one
right?
is the false altar. The altar of lies.
It's just, you know, there's some... Whoever made it. I was going to say Arceus Wizards. I don't know if that's true, but they're just like, hey, we don't know where it is, but we're going to steal its power.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe it's
AFK
one
blood
thing
altar. I don't know.
AFK blood altar. Yeah, on point. Everyone will
I
do
saw a
Guardians of the Rift
suggestion.
until 77 Runecraft.
So a suggestion of calling the Korrend one the dark blood altar. But
Oh,
I mean,
that's not
I feel like the
bad,
Mauritanian
actually.
one looks quite dark as well, so maybe that's confusing.
I mean, they're both covered in blood, so they're gonna look pretty dark.
The blood
Never
and
say
the
the right one
bloodier.
either.
Yeah, true.
Where's Mod Ed when you need him to go into all the lore of it? Oh well, moving on. Let's talk about some rewards. Were there any other reward concepts that didn't make it into the final version of Guardians of the Rift? Well, let's hear those broken, overpowered things that got shut down. Come on, Alfie.
Is it okay if I ask a question about the pearls?
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, perfect chance for it.
Okay, I'm just wondering why the pearls are being increased by 15% and why the rewards just aren't being reduced for the people that have played already.
Sure. There's two main reasons for that. The first is that we can't really hotfix the reduction in prices anytime soon, so that would need to wait till next week. And I think there's a lot of making sure that the initial release feels good for people. And the second one was just that people really felt like they just weren't getting them often enough. They weren't seeing that hit of the number go up, and that felt bad. And they were getting a lot of talismans, so the weighting was ever so slightly taken out of talismans and put to them. And I saw the feedback. I know that was it Valor posted it and got quite a lot of traction on Twitter about like, oh, you should do this because it doesn't devalue. And I think that's a really good point and a really good sentiment. And I just think that like within 12 hours or so of launch, maybe like 16 hours of launch isn't a huge amount of time where we can go back on that, which is where I
totally agree.
Stands going forward. I think that if we changed it in like a week's time, that would be a huge issue, right? Because that's suddenly like you're losing days of progress and not just a few hours, right? And that would be where we'll do it now because that makes sense. It feels a bit bad and that addresses a current bit of feedback we're getting. And if we want to adjust it down the line, we'll just reduce the prices in the shop and give a refund if you already bought it for the untradeable stuff. That seems like a fair way to go about it.
Yeah, that's good. Cool. Yeah, no, that sounds because the rewards in the shop like look like aesthetically pleasing how much it costs, and if you reduce the price, it would make them all look weird. So I agree.
I mean, I do like making things round numbers, but I think that's that's a very minor.
Well, at least if the top cost like 355, that'd be weird. So yeah. A lot of people are like, it should be 400. I think if you did that, people would complain the other way. They'd be like, this should just be this. But I don't know.
So were there any other rewards that didn't actually make it into the final version? I mean, I don't think we pulled anything from the blog, from what I recall. So was there anything in the design stage, perhaps, that just got completely shut down or wasn't possible, for example?
There was something that came up quite late in the design, a bit too late for us to do anything about it. But I'd personally still be down to pull this at a later stage. And Husky, you might know what I'm talking about, but quite late, we realized that wouldn't it be cool if you could get actual essence pouches from the rewards rift? The problem with that is that skillers then have a way of getting the essence pouches without doing combat, you know, because that's the only way to get them currently. Which, you know, it's cool if they can do that, but that probably needs to be pulled. So that's why we can just chuck them in. even if they're like really, really rare, right?
Yeah, and I think the point of that is it's not a bad thing if skillers get access to pouches. It's just let's not
Yeah.
do that unpolled without talking to the community first, right? Because that would change it. I think there's no reason they shouldn't just be able to get them from this content for what it's worth. I think it'd be pretty cool if along the way to getting your needle, you also got pouches and stuff, and could make the pouch that way. And I like that was also just when I love the idea of reaching into the abyss and pulling out a random thing for your reward. And it felt like there wasn't enough random things, so I added a few extra things at the end. It was kind of like pouches would make sense. Was looking at abyssal creature drop tables and seeing what would make sense to give. And yeah, I think that's something I want to put in the future. I think as well for other rewards, it was just a lot of back and forth about how the colossal pouch should work. Should it be an additional pouch or should it be a combination pouch? And then there was talk about whether the lantern should have been like a brazier that you light in the minigame to give everyone the buff, but then that just got kind of clunky with like, do people overwrite the buff or is it an individual one so everybody sees it look different? And then it was like, what if we just make it like a personal reward thing instead? And I think we changed that from a game mechanic to a reward.
Interesting. All right. I like the idea of pouches coming from it personally. I think it makes sense. It's a very thematic way of allowing non-combat accounts at least to access them, similar to what we've done with other items like the Dragon Harpoon coming from Tempoross, for example. So maybe even in the future we might see the Dragon Pick coming from elsewhere. I know we spoke about that very briefly on the PvP stream last week, but save that for another day. Don't want to create a lot of discussion around that because we're talking about rewards from Guardians of the Rift. Zoe, how did you feel about the rewards when you saw them? Was there any specific points that were brought up within your community? Any discussions that got heated, or did it generally just all seem okay?
I immediately was in love with the fashionscape. I thought that the colors were unlike a lot of things that we'd seen before, and I just think that they have a lot of, I think that they work for like skillers and fashionscape people combined. I haven't played enough to really know how the pearls work in terms of purchasing things, so I can't really speak to that. But otherwise, like, I think the colossal pouch is really neat. I and a lot of my community thought that the lantern was cool. I don't feel like there's a lot of items in game that like change depending on what you put into it. I thought that was kind of unique and interesting. And overall, I think it's a nice balance of things that's not too game breaking, but also beneficial for everybody, low levels and high levels alike.
Great. It sounds like I can't even comment on that. It sounds like you had an easy ride with it. If only things were so easy when we had to deal with feedback ourselves. Good to hear, though. I mean, especially like the outfits, you're all right. They are absolutely fantastic. I love the different colors that come from them. You can see the NPCs
and they're
wearing
different
them.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. But at the same time, like, this is one thing that I've seen in the past. We brought out new outfits, and a lot of players have complained that they are like either too detailed, they don't fit old school, and really I didn't see any of that this time round. So again, props to the artists for absolutely hitting the nail on the head. They just seem to fit so well aesthetically, whilst bringing something new at the same time.
Agreed.
Yeah,
How about for you, Alfie? Was there any points of contention within your community at all when you were going over it?
Just we were trying to get into apparently someone said there was something you could tick manipulate in the game, and we were like trying to figure that out and we couldn't, and then I was just trying to like learn all of the like I got into solos a bit, and solos are it's gonna be pretty fun to like learn what all you can do in here, because so far over the last like 2 days, like it's possible. The randomness of the portals that open, it seems like the overcharged cells are like a lot more. You have to get them in order to like have a smooth less than a mass. So that's very that was a little like thing that we were talking about where like but everyone's just figuring it out. I think everyone in my community was just so excited that we don't have to actually Runecraft, that we get to do the minigame, that overshadowed everything else. Everyone's just like, okay, well, we're all doing, like, I'm getting this many points, and then, the blood altar, everyone's talking about the amount of bloods you'll be able to make an hour. The outfit's gonna be pretty insane when people actually get to it. I want to know how many hours was the outfit intended to take? Because they because you guys changed the value of the abyssal pearls. Was that something that was supposed to happen, or
we're just going to open that discussion up now because I think it's the thing that's been asked by like everybody is
Just
like,
send it. Yeah.
what's the hours? What's it going to be? Jagex, why do you hate me? Why am I getting unlucky? All this stuff, and things are stupid, and yeah. Okay,
I think they're dumb. Like that's really. I think you guys did a great job with the minigame. I don't think anyone's saying that. I think the complaints people have, as you said before, are really good complaints because people are like just wondering like how long it's going to take to get the outfit because they want the runes, not necessarily because they want to stop playing the game. I think this is how everyone's gonna train runecrafting for sure. Like this is actually a huge success. But yeah,
for sure. I didn't mean that as if to dismiss its bad feedback because it is good feedback. Right? People say they're not getting rewards, and it's really difficult as a developer, right? Because I'd like to think we're pretty good at the game now, at least internally. At least Elena and I are. You know, if there was tick manipulation, we could do it. We're getting really good at one-ticking the pouches at the altar and stuff like that, and really trying to optimize to the point where I was like, no, Elena, you're mining 10 too many fragments. You're not going to make this timing of the portal. And when we got to that level of optimization, even in like our own games, we were finding that games were like 6.5-ish minutes long in smaller scales, but like, you know, still pretty consistent, 4, 5, 6. The scaling of difficulty is quite linear too, so we would have actually expected it to be even quicker in larger games because people are less likely to focus on barriers, right? They just need more time crafting runes because you don't need so many cells and the Guardians matter to be up and stuff. But that's not what we're seeing, right? What we're seeing in masses is a bunch of people who are just not playing well, and you're obviously like being pulled down by a bunch of people who are just not doing optimal strategies, and that makes sense, right? That's also what we expected in masses, and kind of thought that would offset by the
what was the biggest group you guys did?
Like 14, 15 was as much as we could get internally, which, you know, we see slight differences in rates, but nothing too alarming. And I think the big thing was, like, to answer your question, the rates, I think I said ballpark 20 to 25 hours to get the full outfit. And I think it was about 40 to 50 hours for the pet recolor. And the rift rewards kind of being random, while they're random and less consistent, you're kind of working on both at the same time, right? So it's, you know, obviously if everything was in the shop, it would just double the grind potentially, but you're working on a random element and a static element. So
I love
right now
that's
not
rare drop.
It's not as rare as people think, though. In fact, the wiki's pretty close to a lot of them. I think that's actually pretty on point. But the thing is that, like, I think I balanced it around. We're getting like 8-ish games an hour, maybe. Players might get really good and push it to 9 or 10, and I'm getting around 4 to 5 pools per game. So let's just say I'm getting the least amount of games with the most amount of pools. So that's like 8 times 5, 40 pools an hour, right? Which is just not what players are getting. Players are getting like 20, right? So that are less. And the time between games was a big impact yesterday. Like, if you're just not playing the game constantly, you're going to get less pools per hour. And also, the biggest part of contribution, actually, like, the cells are really important for that. And in these larger masses, the barriers are just not, until the hotfix that we put out today, they just weren't repairable. So people were just waiting for it to take damage, waiting to get that contribution. There was a lot of lost time. So when you look at all that included, it was like, okay, we were just going to tweak the rate of the pearls slightly to help a little bit while we continue to monitor it. And the other changes we're looking to see, are there any pain points in masses particularly that we didn't see in our internal playtesting, right? So in our internal playtesting, we could always upgrade a barrier or heal a barrier because the games were just ending before they were maxed out. In masses, that wasn't, so now you do get contribution for doing it. And we'd like to hope that as players figure out metas, it would become more apparent, because I was getting all over the place things on Twitter. Someone was saying, games are taking 13, 14 minutes, I'm getting 4 games an hour. And then I had someone else say, I'm getting 7 to 8 minute games, right? And I'm like, okay, well, there's clearly a difference there. And I don't just want to knee-jerk, like, do a bunch of balancing now while players are still figuring it out day one. And I think as a bunch of, like, guides come out, people will tend to conform to whatever guides or popular streamers will do. And that's not to say the current rates are still perfect. I just think that we'll see it. How about week 1 feedback? We just look at seeing, fix the pain points of the game. We're going to put a timer up for the portals so people don't feel like it's really annoying when it runs out as they get there. We'll put a timer up for when the next portal is going to spawn, because that'll help players maybe play better, because they're not just going to have a full inventory of essence when a portal spawns, because that's something we weren't getting in our internal playtesting, because we kind of had learned the feel of the portal spawning. All these things compound on each other, and potentially just make things less. It's also impacting XP rates. That's another thing. Some people are saying I'm getting worse XP. Other people are saying actually I'm getting closer to 70k, and that's more than you, Paul. Please nerf it, Jagex, which shows that there's room to learn and balance out. So week 1 we'll fix all the pain points with actual mechanics. Week 2 we'll have another look over the actual rewards and stuff. Maybe into week 3, especially once we get that data from our analytics team to really see how long these games are taking and is that improving week by week, because that's a request for I want to get into to really be able to fine tune it, because making changes just based on what tweets am I getting, are these people telling the truth, am I just worried for no reason, is I think something that could be quite dangerous to the content long term. Where theoretically if I make a huge change and players get a ton better, the outfit could take like 8 hours, which some players might think that's okay, but the ballpark I was aiming for was 20-ish, right? So anyway, big spiel about what's happening, what the situation is. I hope players get better. I hope that, and I'm not going to stand here and go in 2 months' time be like, you guys are still not good enough. Ha ha ha! I'm a JMod. I'm better at the game. No. Like if you guys are just not getting the rates that we want to balance it around, we'll make changes, right? You know, it's just too early to tell.
I guess
So
it's
the only
a
other
good
thing-
way. Oh, sorry, Alfie. Go.
Oh no, just the last thing I wanted to mention about the game was the visuals of the Guardians. It's like hard to see like which one is
I
active.
agree.
Like if you like look at it, you can't really like tell unless you like, for some of them you have to like kind of squint in order to like see like, oh, it's nature or is it Earth. It'd be cool to have like a bigger like visual cue of which one is actually active. I don't
I'm
know if
having the
anyone
same
else-
issue, especially with like the HP bars, where the abyssal creatures are entering.
As in like the HP
right.
bars of the creatures are not.
Yeah,
enough, or
and the barrier as well, I believe. I'm not sure.
I think the barriers could probably have smaller hit points bars. That's very doable to override that. But yeah, I guess the portals. That's for you, West.
Yeah, I was going to say, because it did actually come up during testing, that they were hard to see, so I made them more visible. So I guess, yeah, even more visible is what I need to make them.
It might just be those swirling balls or something, like if we make those like substantially bigger or something. I think the big thing I've seen people bring up still is seeing them from behind is quite difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to play around with, I guess.
I just wanted to clarify something from before, by the way, because I know Alfie mentioned tick manipulating, and I think there's like a common misconception that would definitely be a thing. I just wanted to clarify that, like, that's something we talked about in a previous live stream, I'm pretty sure, where I think it was right around the time it was pulled, maybe just after, and we were saying, you know, we're hoping at least to be able to provide methods where high effort equals high reward, and naturally we brought up tick manipulation then as like the prime example of that. We kind of went away from it for several reasons. One was the tick manipulation method you could do was to 1.5 tick the mining. We changed that to just allow, you know, fast mining in general, because mining was quite a big deal. Like, you spend a fair amount of time mining in the game, and it just felt kind of really, really bad if you didn't do the best method. And considering you can get here on a quite early Runecraft level, maybe not everyone feels like doing that. The second reason was more like, we felt like there were enough macro decisions for you to do better by just paying more attention or learning, you know, the timing of things. So rather than depending on fast clicks, which you still have to do sort of with the removal of the tick delay when you Runecraft to empty your pouches and stuff, I think we kind of make up for that difficulty with the amount of like macro decisions you have to make during the game, especially when you're in lower team sizes. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about if you've done a bunch of solos, Alfie.
Yeah, it does feel like you can definitely like get higher XP rates because of the tick removal. I like that a lot. A lot of people are really happy about you guys removing that tick delay. for the runes. It feels really good to actually do it.
So good.
Yeah,
I love it so much.
Great. I love it.
Well, I've now had a chance to recatch my breath. I had to run downstairs really fast to open the door. Apologies for my brief disappearance. There's been a lot of chat around changes, and obviously you've explained a few things that we have done and things that we haven't done. Now I know that we've done some hotfixes today, and there is some information coming out later today on our socials that will explain those. But for maybe those that haven't seen it on Reddit, for example, Elena or Husky, do you want to just quickly run over what it is that we've actually changed today, or things that we're looking to change as well, and when we might expect those to happen?
List of hotfixes today. Contribution is now 1,200 as the cap instead of 1,000, although it's still capped at 1,000 max for elemental and catalytic because I didn't assign enough space to that variable and I can't hotfix the space in that variable. So you need to at least get 200 of one of them. Just tech reason there. But yeah, you can get 1,200. It also scales a bit with the Abyssal Lantern. I was going to fix that for week 1, but when I was in the code, I decided to do it anyway. But the Abyssal Lantern just gets you to the point cap faster if you're using it to get more points, like the Redwood one. So the cap is like 60 higher, like 1,260 with a 5% increase, or 1,320 with a 10% one. Just because doesn't make sense to get you to the cap faster and then not actually give you more points at the end of the game. So that makes sense. The 1,200 is combined between them. You get contribution for healing barriers, even if they're at full health. You just don't get Runecraft XP, mostly because I'm aware that making barriers is already quite good Runecraft XP, and I don't just want people to incentivize prolonging the game indefinitely, running barriers and never finishing it to get like really high XP rates. The point should always be to finish the game. We just wanted to make sure you guys.
What if there's just a cooldown? What if it said there was just a cooldown?
The difficulty with a cooldown is that like it still needs to be a really long cooldown, because if you're going like back and forth from altars, it's probably still like 15-20 seconds. So you need like a 30-second to a minute cooldown. We could do that, but
is it might just feel bad to have like an overcharge thing and put it on there and get like no XP from it. But
maybe I'd have to think more on it. At least this was the quick solution for a hotfix. Was just really worried about increasing XP rates, so let's not apply the XP to that one. I can think about that one more. What else did we change? For some reason I nerfed blood runes from Zaya to 22.8 XP instead of 23.8. I don't know how I ever changed that number. It's back. Hooray, you're getting 1 more XP for your blood runes.
People were also getting double bloods for like an hour.
Oh yeah, that was on release.
Yeah,
this hasn't actually come up with the outfit, but the Runecraft bonuses now stack additively because all the league stuff made it multiplicatively, and people might go, "Oh my god, that's less runes." It's additively after the amount you get from your level, so that's the base. Then it's additive after that. And in the rewrite for that, I accidentally used the wrong command, and instead of giving 10%, I added, I made the bonus percentage to be 10% of the original. I made it 10% of the original was added onto the bonus percent or something like that. So it was actually 110%. That was weird. We fixed that pretty quickly. In the hotfix the other thing. Yeah, it happens. That's fixed. But the other one we did today is you can now enter during phase 1. So during that mining phase before the portals have opened, you can now enter. You're just being a bit behind on mining, so if you missed that specific 30-second window, you're not going to be punished for it. And the maximum number of people per game is 100, and we scaled up the creatures appropriately. It's probably still not going to be a huge challenge in large masses, but there's more creatures that spawn as you scale up players. I think that covers it.
Awesome.
So there was people were getting randomly double XP drop, once every 10 or 20 games. I got it once.
That.
Not sure if that was good.
There's a check in place that does something like when you return from an altar, check if the game was over in the time that you came back and give you the awards for winning, but also the natural winning thing. In some rare cases, you were able to trigger both of those. We didn't get exact reproduction of it, to be consistent. Sounds like players hadn't either, at least from what I was aware, but we were able to fix it so that you can't benefit from both at once. That was quite straightforward. So you're not getting your 9,000 at the end of a game anymore if you're 99.
I was like, wow, we tried to figure out how to do it. We were like, I got 3 and 3. Did it work? And it didn't. Anyway.
I'm sure a bunch of people at most maybe got like 10 to 15k more Runecraft XP than they should have. And
We weren't trying to break the game. I swear. I apologize. I'm sorry. Please don't ban me.
We already did one
You're a
more
little bad.
back. We don't need to do another. They can have the extra XP. It's fixed now. I think that covers everything though that's coming out today. Obviously, there's also a whole bunch of changes that we made yesterday. But if you just do !! Guardians of the Rift in chat, you'll get a link to the news post that we put out, and it's got a big table at the top that just shows all of those. So have a read through. I'm going to ask a couple more questions if I can. Actually, before I ask any more questions, whilst we're currently in the game, does someone want to actually run through the core gameplay loop of Guardians of the Rift, what it is that you actually do? I know that we've already started here, so it might be a little bit off, but whoever's currently got the reins, if you want to run us through how it works.
Sure, I think it's on me. Yeah, it's on me. So the whole point, I guess, of the minigame is to defend the Great Guardian and let him charge up so that he can close the Abyssal Rift. That is our entire goal. And in order to do that, we need to Runecraft, because he needs that Runecraft energy, basically, to close the rift. And so what we're doing right now is we're mining these like fallen guardians that have just fallen in a battle a long time ago. We're mining them for these fragments that we can then eventually turn into essence and imbue and feed to the guardian. But in the meantime, stuff from the Abyssal Rift are coming through, such as leeches and something called walkers. They're quite scary looking underwater abyssal creatures. And they start attacking the Great Guardian if they can reach him, so we need to protect him before that happens. And the way we do that is we grab these cells, and we can make these little guardians to defend them, or we can run up here and place down these cells in the little tiles and build these little barriers, or they're kind of like shields. So the abyssal creatures, once they come through this portal, they'll attack either the guardians or the shields, and that kind of just stops them in time for us to power up the guardian. And that's the game, really.
You make
I can
it sound so
explain
simple.
more as we go as well, but
Yep, we're going to need some live commentary. I'm warming you up
Oh,
ready for
God.
the next Deadman, Elena. I did say one day I'll get you commentating live on stream, and I've now achieved it.
you
so-
also said to do it in Norwegian, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, true, actually. Well, you can explain the next part in Norwegian if you like, but you will need to translate
Okay.
afterwards.
Så nå går jeg gjennom en portal til et alter. Det her er det kosmiske alteret. Så nå tar jeg med meg essensen min, og så... Det ser ut som jeg ber, egentlig, men jeg gir det til alteret, så får jeg tilbake stein, som jeg tar med til den store... Jeg vet ikke hva han heter på norsk. Vokteren. Og så gjør vi det en gang til. Done.
That sounded so majestic. I actually felt like I was in a fantasy world for a moment there. Thanks, Elena. I have no idea what you just
You're
said, so I
welcome.
really hope our Twitch channel doesn't get banned. I'm trusting you.
Shouldn't have done that, man. Shouldn't have done that. I was actually talking smack about you the whole time.
Oh my
I wasn't
God.
talking about the game at all.
Well,
I know
it's
some
okay.
people
I
in
just
chat.
wanted to say it.
I know some people in chat can speak Norwegian, but there was a bunch just going, yeah, just pretending they don't understand.
Sounds about right.
Okay, and on a real now, for those of us that don't have the joy of being able to speak Norwegian, was there any useful information that the players might want to know there, Elena?
What I was saying was, you can go through these altars to the actual altars out in the world, like the classic Runecraft altars. You can imbue your essence here, and you get these guardian stones. And the cool part about this, and this is like one of the things that I love the most about the whole minigame, is that this is the actual Runecraft altar. So if someone is, I don't know, Runecrafting through the abyss or something, and going to this altar, maybe this guy is, you know? He will see a bunch of us playing the minigame and randomly just running
swarming
in.
the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's so cool. It just really like revitalizes that feeling of what Runecraft used to be like when seeing all of these like nostalgic old places.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things too. It's also the reason why, a bunch of like people on Reddit thinking they're so smart. We're like, Jagex, just instance it. I don't know why you're not instancing it. Now, what's the fundamental problem with our instances in the engine? They close when there's nobody in it. And while that's probably not a problem in 60 mans, that's probably a problem in like 2-3 mans, where you make an instance, you go to the fire altar, you come back, and your instance is gone. That's a pretty big problem, in my opinion. So no, we can't instance it, because we don't have instances big enough to fit all 12 altars that we have here. So,
Ooh,
yeah. Mocking players a little bit there. I know they don't know all the engine restraints. I think it's funny. It's just there's only so much Reddit people telling you how to do your job I think I can take when I'm tired. Okay.
That one's getting clipped and put onto a 2007 Escape.
I
See it
don't
happening
care.
now.
Some people
Alright,
love me.
well,
Some people hate me, and I'm fine with that.
True. That's just the way it goes in game dev, it seems. Right, I have a couple of questions that I want to put forward to Zoe and Alfie. Let's start with you, Zoe, if that's okay. You said you've played the minigame a little bit. I guess, do you prefer doing it in larger or smaller groups from your experience so far? And have you had a chance to kind of like come together as like your own community team to like all jump in on the same world and tackle the rift?
No, I can't say that I've tried it outside of anything but masses. I like the way the masses have been going, but I just haven't had the time to try anything else. I'd like to, though.
Maybe Alfie can give you some tips on soloing and try and give that one a go.
Yeah,
although it did
please.
sound pretty hectic. How about
Yeah,
you,
I think
Alfie?
this might be
You
a better
said-
question for Alfie.
Yeah, you said you've done some varying different sizes, right? I think you're muted at the moment.
Sorry, it depends on. So if the mass is decent, then it's like not too much different from soloing. Soloing's like it's just like a lot more hectic for like the same reward. At least it seems for now. It's just like something like if the mass sucks, then soloing is better. But like if the mass doesn't suck and they're gaming, then it's like a solo will randomly fail because of. You'll just get a bunch of like times where it's like air and mind, and then it'll happen 3 times. And then if you're a solo, your freaking guardian is like taking a walk to like the south of the bank, and you don't know why. And it's like, anyway. But yeah, there are struggles that I'm currently trying to work out. But masses are pretty good. Like the XP rates are, it's not too much better if you solo. Which this game I assume was obviously meant to be a game that you do in a mass, but it can be done, in all sizes. It's pretty fun to try everything out. So. I've just been trying like here and there just in case like things came up or like I learned stuff about the game. I wanted to like know if soloing was better, if it wasn't, Iron Man, so I'm like I gotta try solo. Okay.
From my experience, I don't think solos will ever be better than masses, or at least like better than like 2-3 mans, because it is the consistency issue you've mentioned. I think you can consistently do solos, but they require yeah, they require adaptations to your strategy in ways that would probably not be good for XP and stuff. So, like, you just get bad barriers, and you're like, okay, I just need to make bad guardians right now, or keep running to heal this barrier until I get good portals. And what that means is, like, normally people want to get into a rhythm in masses of go to the workbench, make fragments, go to the altar, make them, come back, take the portal, mine more, go to the altar, come back, then go back to the workbench, and you're constantly, like, alternating between that. And you just can't get that rhythm right in solos consistently. And like, obviously, if you get like a fire or blood super early, right, and you get like really powerful guardians, yeah, you probably can, and the solo's probably quite free after that. But there's also some nuance between like at 60% health, the shields take a bunch of damage, and you might want to have like a battery on hand or cell on hand, sorry, to like heal it straight after, or like to upgrade it because upgrading gives it a bigger health boost. There's lots of weird nuances to the strategy in solos that just kind of mess up the flow. I think it'll be interesting to see how.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, what are you saying?
Oh, for soloing, what seems to work is I just use one barrier, and it seems to work out fine. And then I'll like, so the guardians, the overpowered ones are just so much stronger than every single other one. Basically, if you get them, it's like free, and then if you don't, it's so difficult. It's like a. I feel like the overpowered is just like so much stronger than the strong one.
Yeah, we definitely
Not
might
that
want to
it
look
matters,
at that. I think they get accuracy boost, like it's flat accuracy, just a chance to hit, and I think their damage increases too. But we might have missed the tuning on that slightly. Maybe it's a case of the strong ones just need to be slightly stronger, but it's also difficult because you're balancing for, do you balance for solos, do you balance for duos, trios, do you
Right.
balance for masses? Because in masses,
you
it's
definitely
almost
balance
not
for
even a
not solos.
problem. Right? Yeah. That's the problem, right? And changes to something that's fundamental as Guardian damage isn't a fix just for solos, it is a fix across, it's a change across the board, right? So we've always got to be careful with that. Overcharged, whatever it's called, sorry chat, it's not called overpowered.
I know why you're getting confused though. We went through so many different names, and I remember the thread that you'd put together, Elena, with the different suggestions. And
there was
there
originally
was.
like tier 1 elemental cells versus tier 2 catalytic, and elemental ones and catalytic were the same on barriers, but they were used on different piles, and then like body and law and nature didn't give any, and it was so confusing for a part in the design. Like this is like when we get to playtest and we're like, this just, people are getting confused, people think there's bugs, people think they should have got something and they didn't, and it's like, yeah, that's why we simplified it a lot to just having 4 tiers and yeah, across the board. Because I think we actually got like models for those cells, for one for each of the elements, all different colors, different symbols. We never actually ended up using them all, but we got them. Anyway, I have to dip out a little bit early, but guys, stop bullying the pet. He's nice, give him a home. If you don't like him, he's a cosmetic, you don't need to have him. To pet hunters, I'm really sorry that your 50th pet wasn't prestigious TOA, because that matters and milestone numbers matter, but like, yeah, give him a home, you know? He's just a lost abyssal pet, and he looks sad, or sometimes happy. It depends which side you're looking at it from.
It looks like runecrafting.
Anyway,
It looks like I runecrafted for this for a long time.
Well, cheers for joining us, Husky. I'll see you in a little bit. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for answering all my questions.
And he's gone. I do love the pet, though. I think it's great. Right, Alfie, Zoe, what are the best drops you've gotten so far? Any look?
I've only gotten
you put a regular needle into the drop table, and I don't like you for it.
Well, there was a mixture of two there. Okay, Alfie, go first. Sorry, go again.
Oh, sorry. I just said you put a regular needle into the drop table, and I don't like you for it. Nah,
I blame Husky for that one.
That's great. I love it.
So does that? So you've had nothing, just a normal needle?
Nothing so far. I do have some rewards.
Oh, okay. Is it because you've had enough point? You've had enough pearls?
I've been waiting for the Abyssal Pearl buff.
Okay,
like everyone else.
Fair enough. And sorry, I missed it when you said Zoe, but did you get any look at all?
No, nothing. Just the intricate pouches in the collection log is always cool. But otherwise, no.
Well, maybe your look will change after today. Who knows? We'll see. If not, just carry on grinding, because I know that you're interested mostly in the outfit anyway. That's what I'll be going for as soon as I jump into the Rift, at least. What else do we have? There's quite a few questions in here, but we've actually got some generic questions that have been asked about the actual content. Although before I move into those, Alfie, you've asked a fair amount yourself already, so I'm going to skip you for a second. Apologies, I can come back afterwards though. But do you have any questions, Zoe, that you want to ask the team whilst they're here, where you've got an opportunity to, about the minigame before we do go into just a few of our community ones?
I apologize. Mine are going to be somewhat newbier questions. The first question I had was, just to like sum it all up, what are all the things that can make a game fail?
Oh, that's a lot. I assume you mean Guardians of the Rift specifically, right?
Right. Just to like, no. To make the actual game like fail for everybody and have it end the game before it's over.
Yeah.
What are the factors that can do that?
So that's actually only dependent on Great Guardian's HP. So the win condition is him reaching 100% charge, and the lose condition is him hitting 0% charge, which is done.
Okay.
And the creatures hit him. So that's really it. Keep the creatures away and you're golden.
Cool.
All right. Was there anything else that you wanted to ask Alfie that hasn't yet been answered?
No, you guys are doing great. I'm good.
All right. I'll
I
try and
actually have
quick
one more
fire.
question while I'm thinking about
Oh,
it.
go ahead. Yeah.
Do we have clarity on how the reward permits work and everything? I know a lot of people were asking about that, and there's a little bit of confusion there.
So Husky implemented that, but from what I remember, the way it works is that if you have, it's in increments of 100 to 1 point. So if, I don't know if my screen is showing now, I currently have 92 elemental energy and 10 catalytic energy. That means that because they're both less than 100, I don't have a guaranteed roll in either of them, or guaranteed points, or whatever you wish to call it. Had it been 192, I would have had 1 guaranteed point and 92% chance of an additional point, if that makes sense.
Got it.
So currently, as I have 92, it's a 92% chance of 1 point in elemental. But you also need an equal amount of points in elemental and catalytic to be able to grab something from the rift. These guardians are all about balance, so they want one of each. And that's really it. At the end of the game, it shows you like how many you got this game, and then beneath that again, it shows like how many you got in, or how many you have in total. And you can also check it by going to the guardian and like the rewards guardian outside, and right-clicking him and check on that guy, and he will just tell you how many times you can loot, basically.
Cool.
I'm muted.
you're
There we go. I was just, as I started speaking, I was like, hold on, am I muted? I was alt-tabbed out, definitely preparing for this evening at the time we wrap up. There's a couple of questions I just want to quick fire through, albeit the first one is actually rather a lengthy question, so bear with me as I try and get through this. It comes in from a player called Trogador, and they say, Guardians of the Rift feels way too sweaty for the XP rates and lackluster rewards and their drop rates. I'm 90 Runecraft, and I don't see any reason to continue unless it has a buff to the Abyssal Pearl rate or gets an increase to the experience. The intensity in the blog is stated to be medium for Guardians of the Rift, but apart from the mining in the beginning, it does not feel intense. My XP and GP per hour is largely dependent on the RNG of the Blood and Death altars being open, so I feel I could be better off semi-AFKing Bloods. Are you looking to make the minigame more enjoyable for players at the higher end of Runecraft?
I mean,
wait, did you just get the pet? Sorry,
Yeah.
am I dumb?
I did. I wanted to show him.
Wait,
Wait, what?
am I dumb? Did I miss that?
Is this real?
Sorry.
Yeah, this is in live.
Is it real or is it? Or do you just spawn it?
I mean, no, I have a funny feeling like I'm being followed.
No,
Yeah,
you must
no,
be on a
I
test
may have-
account.
No, it's in live. Like,
Dude,
It's actually real. What?
totally didn't.
Where
cheat
was
at
your
all.
reaction? We're live on stream. You didn't
Oh,
even
you were
shout.
talking.
You should
I
have
wanna
interrupted
interrupt.
me. It was way more important
Aw.
than. I'm sorry, but
I don't know how to
complaining
react.
about the XP rates. Well, congratulations, Elena. You got the pet. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you.
It's so cool. Actually, you know, it looks so much better in game than the screenshot I posted on Twitter as well. It's so good. Oh. All right, that's fantastic. I guess. Well, now we've celebrated your pet. Sorry, it's short-lived, but if we can get to Trogador's point, are we going to do anything for the minigame, the higher-end players of Runecraft?
I mean, probably not. We're not looking to make any like serious mechanical changes at this point. It's mainly qual changes, and you know, like if anything comes up, like bug fixes and stuff like that. I don't know. What is fun is kind of subjective as well, right? Like some people really love it. Some people maybe aren't having fun. I don't quite know how to make it more fun for you without like you telling me what's fun for you specifically. In terms of like catering to higher level players specifically though, I suggest trying different team sizes and just trying to see what you feel like doing, because with higher levels you can go to all the altars, right? And at least like 92 and beyond. No, sorry, 77 and beyond. I'm being silly. And in smaller groups, that's way more important, like which altars you can go to. Because if you're limited to which altars you can go to in a smaller group, you might have issues with like RNG not giving you the altars you can go to, right? But no, to answer the question, we're not really looking to make any serious mechanical changes at this point.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, in all fairness as well, the question did raise about the rates of pearls, which we have increased today, so maybe that will bring in some improvements for that individual. Otherwise, I think, at the end of the day, if players want a little bit more really hyper intensive gameplay, I say hyper intensive, it's not that bad, but there's still always lava runecrafting which exists if you really want to be focusing on the clicks and pushing for the highest XP per hour. I find it odd that the comparison drawn was to semi-AFKing Bloods when they're looking for something that's more enjoyable at the higher end of runecrafting, but maybe they were just looking for something else that GotR Work doesn't offer. But hopefully that gets some of your questions answered, Trogador. Increased pearl rates, yes. Changing gameplay, no. Remote Cube has asked if they can get some clarity on the unique drop rates. Just knowing the ballpark rate for the all-important lantern would be helpful. It's not even been out for a day.
It's probably something we'll release eventually, but as with like most updates these days, we prefer to give it some time, let people figure it out, and then we'll confirm it at some point.
Okay, great, thank you. Heal Me Please has said, would a timer for the Essence portal closing be possible? I'm sometimes not sure if I have time to charge the Guardian and use my cell or not.
Yeah, that's coming out next week.
Awesome. Is that what you teased on your Twitter, I think it was, Elena?
It is, yeah.
Great, well if you haven't already, go check out...
show the picture. Yeah, maybe that, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll say just go to @Jagex Elena and check out her most recent tweet, and you should be able to see a sneak preview of how those timers may look. Then we have from Queen B5, Queen Bees, can we get a waiting room to enter? It's really annoying to be spam clicking peek and enter over and over, hoping you didn't miss it. A queue or waiting room should be used, in my opinion, to make it so you can relax while waiting for the next game.
So hopefully this isn't an issue anymore now that we've increased the amount of people who can go in up to 100. If that's still an issue, in the coming weeks, then we can consider it then. But for now, I think we'll just see how this new change goes.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we also extended the amount of time you can go in. So you don't need to go into that 30-second gap. You can go in during phase 1 if you'd like.
Yeah. Which I believe now, I'm just double checking actually on the old school socials, but I'm pretty sure the news of that has gone out. If not, it's coming out of the change I've made today. Well, they're not quite out there yet, but I did see a thread updated a moment ago just to say the image is basically ready. A question from new account XYZ. They say, the entrances to the altars can be difficult to see. Although the UI tells me which altars are open, the issue is that I have no idea where the entrances are and I have to memorize their locations. Could this be changed visually to be more apparent?
Yes, we did kind of talk about this earlier. I did see a cool suggestion in the chat though, about putting maybe like a big beam on top of them to make it clearer. I do think once players learn where they all are though, it shouldn't be less of an issue, but yeah, to begin with, it's going to take a while to learn.
Imagine like a big glowing eye on top of it. I want that now.
Ooh,
That'd be
yeah,
cool.
nice, a good idea. Yeah, I could, definitely do something like that.
Okay, thank you. And trying to find where I'm at with the questions now. I shouldn't be scrolling through looking at them. I should just stay where I'm at, really, shouldn't I? From Jorgen, they have said, is there a reason creating Guardians is worth more points than healing a shield? It just seems clunky to have it worth over 2 times the points when there's a cap of 10 Guardians in a 60 to 100 player game.
Wait, can you repeat that?
Yeah, they have said, is there a reason creating Guardians is worth more points than healing a shield? It just seems clunky to have it worth over 2 times the points when there's a cap of 10 Guardians in a 60 to 100 player game.
I think it was mainly done so it wouldn't be abused. So I think initially they were the same, and then we realized that because you can basically do the shields indefinitely, they should probably be lower so that the meta isn't just to make shields like the entire game. But then it felt kind of bad, like you usually didn't want to make a Guardian, like, I don't know, it just made sense to keep Guardians that way because you only get a few of them, so that one pop should really count. It just felt better to do it that way.
Okay. Thank you for the answer. And I'll go through 2 more questions and I'll have to wrap up because I'm already gone over and I'm probably going to get told off. Before that, though, we have the image ready that we mentioned a moment ago from Elena's Twitter, which talks about the timers that are due to be coming out in next week's update. So here you go. Do you want to just quickly talk through what we're seeing, Elena?
Yeah,
That's
sure.
cool.
So
That's awesome.
some of you may have seen that interface already, right? Like the HUD from the minigame. But the new stuff is the number like in between the rune icons. You can see it says 005. That will be displayed in the first phase, like the preparation phase, when the Abyssal Rift isn't open yet. So it will start at like 2 minutes, and then it will just count down, so you know like when you need to run to do your stuff, and all that. After that, it will be about, I think it's like 20 seconds between each portal changing. So then it will just say like how much time is left until the portal is changing, and you don't have to run up to a portal and then have it change like last second before you reach it, because that's super annoying. Similarly, we also now have a timer for the shortcut portal that takes you to like the Great Guardian Mine, I think it's called. No, the Huge Guardian Mine? The West Mine, where you can mine essence directly. So that shortcut is only open sometimes. It used to say like north or south below it. Now it just says like SE for southeast, SW for southwest, etc. With that little timer next to it.
Great, they sound like some really welcome changes. By the looks of things, chat also very much in favour of those, so great job. Thank you for going over it, really appreciate that. Okay, so yeah, last 2 questions. Specialist Ty, they have asked if pouches can be made to not degrade in the minigame, please, or let the NPC outside fix them for some runes at least.
So we've talked about this as well today, actually, and I would like to do it, but I also feel like that's something that kind of needs polling if we are to do it. I think enough people want it to the point where it would probably pass, but we'll need some time to consider like how to design it properly. Like, does it still cost the same amount of runes as if you were on lunars? Should it require lunars? That sort of thing. And maybe like if it required lunars, then maybe the point is gone, right? So do we put another requirement on it, or is it just, yeah, is it a free thing? We need to figure out the specifics of it, but overall, I'm in favor of some sort of method to help you repair it. But we need to design it, and we need to most likely pull it.
I think it's good, like going into it with an open mind that a design needs to be ready for it because it is quite a change, right? And I know that I've seen specifically from a lot of pures raising this complaint, whether they're like low defense pures, purely skillers, because they obviously can't access lunars, which impacts them. But there is the Abyssal Lantern, right? And if you have 90 woodcutting, your pouches don't degrade in the minigame anymore, so that is an alternative. But at the same time, like Elena said, are open to looking at potentially changing it with the appropriate design. I'd imagine, though, that it would probably cost more than something like NPC Contact, just because of that added convenience of it, right? Because it does, in a way, also devalue the benefit of the lanterns, redwood logs being added to them. So, okay, and the last question from Raid's Monkey Ideas is, similar to how Tempoross and Wintertodt have a designated world, can you set certain worlds to be the Guardians of the Rift mass world? After a few weeks, I assume the activity is going to decline and it'll be easier to find people with a designated world.
Yeah, we already have plans to do that for next week. I think we were supposed to do it already last week, and then we forgot. So, but I don't think finding world has been troublesome this week. Yeah, it'll be in next week.
Awesome, great. Yeah, I do remember that we had a conversation about adding at least 2 worlds, one US, one EU, that were designated as Guardians of the Rift, so maybe they just didn't get done, and it's a next week thing. All right, okay, well that is most certainly all we have time for. I've definitely overran. I apologize to the production team profusely and for taking all of your time. But I just want to say a massive thank you to Mod Husky, who's no longer in the stream. He had to head off early, but appreciate all of the answers and help that you gave during this. Obviously to yourself, Mod Elena, and the fantastic commentary both in English and Norwegian. We hopefully will get to hear more of that soon.
Never again.
Yourself as well, Mod West, for pitching in with all of the art, and your input as always is very much appreciated. It's great to see you on the stream as well. And then lastly, we have the 2 fantastic creators, Zoepancakes and Alfie. Both been an absolute pleasure to have you on board. Hopefully as well we can also involve you guys more in the future. But do you have anything that you want to say just to close off the stream for yourselves?
Thanks for inviting me. I learned a lot. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't already, those who are watching at home, please make sure you give them both a follow on Twitter at ZoePancakes_ and at RSAlfieRules. They both also stream on Twitch, and you'll most likely find them going live after we've been here as well. I just want to quickly round up with our announcements for one last time. ! Game update. Guardians of the Rift is now live. Old School's newest minigame brings you a whole new way to train Runecraft and comes with a brand new quest, the Temple of the Eye. Check out all of the changes and additions in our recent blog with ! Game update. We also have ! Account security. We are committed to leveling up our account security and services over the next year. Mod Mac has actually outlined some of the key changes coming to Old School's account security. You can find them with ! Account security, and also check out the VOD of this stream as soon as you tune out, because we had about a 20-25 minute segment where we were joined with Mods Fife and Mod Korpz talking about how the publishing platform team are working on those improvements over the course of the next year. And then last but not least, ! Launcher. The new Jagex Launcher is in open beta, which you can access Old School RuneScape as well as all of your favorite Jagex things from one place. We'll also be adding RuneLight to it in the very near future. Check out all of the information and download the launcher from ! Launcher. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it. Thanks again everyone for joining us on the stream. Those of you at home, have a fantastic evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Bye.